Let's go back to NBC correspondent Kerry Sanders. He's been on the ground all morning in Uvalde, Texas, outside Robb Elementary School. Kerry, I'll let you take it away.
And you can see I'm standing here with Lieutenant Chris Olivares with the Department of Public Safety. Lieutenant, first of all, just sort of update us where things are right now.
Right, so good morning. So right now we have our Texas Rangers. The Texas Department of Public Safety right now is the lead agency in this investigation. So we have our Texas Rangers that are processing the scene at the school. From right now, all the victims have been removed from the school. Families have been notified. We've been able to identify those victims. But right now we're continuing to process the scene to look for any evidence, any clues that can help put together exactly what took place or what triggered this event.
I'm curious, have you identified the weapons that the gunman had?
So right now we have ATF on scene working alongside with our Texas Rangers. We're trying to identify exactly what type of rifle. It was a rifle, some type of AR platform that we're trying to identify, but we're working with ATF to identify exactly the type of weapon, the capacity, how it was obtained, when it was obtained, how this individual, the shooter, was able to obtain this weapon. We do know for a fact that he did not have any criminal history, any type of gang affiliation. So again, trying to put those pieces together to exactly determine exactly how he was able to obtain this weapon.
LT, one of the big questions people have is why? Why did he do this? If he didn't leave a note or a video or something like that, take me inside the investigation of how you tried to figure out why he did this.
Right, so it's challenging, right, when in this case the shooter is deceased and we have no information or able to talk to the shooter to actually find out what the motives are. So we have to go back, and that's why we have to conduct very thorough investigations. Working together, this is a collaborative effort, working not only with state officials, but also with federal, local, working with the schools as well, trying to identify any witnesses, talking to anybody that may have known this shooter. What we do know that he was a resident here in Uvalde, lived with his grandparents, did attend a local high school here, was unemployed, no friends, no girlfriend at this time that we can identify. So again, trying to exactly identify what caused this, what triggered this individual to, complete this heinous act, this evil act. It just goes to show you just pure evilness with this individual going into a school, barricading himself inside a classroom and shooting children and teachers indiscriminately.
If there is somebody who could perhaps give information, it could be his grandmother, 66-year-old, who is currently in critical condition. How important will it be for her to hopefully survive to give you some clues?
Well, it's very vital to the investigation. So we're hoping that she does pull through. Our prayers are with her. Our prayers are with the families of victims of this entire community as well. But of course, that's always vital when you have a witness that can put the pieces together. So we're talking to neighbors. We're talking to everybody that was involved in the situation. Any potential students, teachers that were in the classroom. We had local law enforcement working with the school law enforcement officers that arrived on scene and were able to rescue children and teachers from the classroom by breaking windows outside the school, trying to evacuate as many people as possible to prevent any further loss of life.
A lot of people are struck by the fact that, and we unfortunately see this over and over again now, that when somebody does this, they actually put on some sort of body armor. Explain what that is. Is that sort of the type of armor that you would be wearing when you're on patrol?
Right, that's exactly what we wear. Our law enforcement officers, our tactical teams, and we saw that the shooter in Buffalo, as we talk about ballistic armor and some type of tactical armor. But in this case, what we do know for a fact that it's confirmed that he was wearing some type of tactical carrier. Unknown if it was ballistic material, but we're still trying to identify that. But he was wearing some type of tactical carrier.
And a carrier means that you can slip things in sort of sleeves, right?
Exactly. You can place magazines, ammo, ballistic panels. It's more used for tactical use. Tactical teams use those type of carriers. But again, goes to show you this 18-year-old shooter having that intent by having, for one, the weapon, and also having this type of armor, this type of tactical vest, and also with the intent going into the school and just completely shooting anybody that was in his way.
Do you know whether the school has a video system that recorded anything to help investigators?
Right, so we do know that for a fact. We do have Texas Rangers trying to obtain that material, trying to obtain that video and actually see what's on there. But again, there's multiple officers that were on scene that actually heard the shooting, that saw what was taking place, but they were at a point of disadvantage at that time because the shooter barricaded himself inside that classroom.
I'm struck by one thing. This is kind of how we want schools to be as I step back. I mean, it's open, it's an elementary school, it's a neighborhood school, you can walk up. We've seen around the country, generally after the fact in these horrible situations, that these what we now call soft targets. Hard to believe it's a school that we're calling a soft target, but fences go up, that there's perimeters. And when you look at this, was this easy access for a crazed gunman?
Well, I mean, that's what we're trying to identify. We know that some schools don't have fences or any type of barriers in place, but we're trying to make that determination to see actually how the shooter was able to make entry into the school, what type of security parameters were in place by working with the school police, also with school officials as well. So we're trying to make that determination to see what actually took place and possibly what we can do in the future, right, with other schools, not just in the state of Texas, but also, nationwide.
I have one last question for you, because I know you're very busy and you have to get back to what's going on here. But what do you say to those families who, if they even slept, lost a loved one, lost a child, and are just trying to make sense of this and looking to you as authority to say, help me?
You know, it's very difficult to put into words. I'm a father myself. I was actually at my daughter's awards assembly yesterday at her school, and I got this tragic news. So we're mourning. The state of Texas is mourning with these families, with these victims, the entire Uvalde community, but also we want to praise the brave men and women of law enforcement that put their lives on the line between the shooter and children to prevent any further loss of life. But again, just tragic, and we continue to mourn with the families. And again, just for those parents out there, it just goes to show you that this can happen at any time, anywhere in the country. So very tragic, just what took place here in Uvalde, Texas.
I think the nation recognizes that. Thank you very much, LT. I appreciate taking some time with us. I'm going to let you go. As I turn to you guys in the studio, I think that the sort of new things that we've heard here is, one, that they may have some video inside that the detectives and the Texas Rangers can evaluate to determine what was taking place with this gunman. Also, that that long weapon, it sounds like it's some sort of AR type weapon. Of course, the AR-15 comes to mind. No real sense of a connection of whether it's one of the weapons that he purchased recently, but you heard him say they're working with ATF, and that's Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms. And so that federal agency involved here, and then ultimately, which we've been reporting all morning, that there was no break from when the forensics teams arrived. They've been here overnight. They're still here. They're still trying to piece it together. And then when those detectives begin to try to answer that question, why, because the suspect is dead, you heard the laborious process that will take place, because at least at this point, it does not appear that there is any sort of written document or recorded video that would explain why the gunman went on this horrific rampage.
Yeah, Lieutenant Olivar is providing quite a bit of information there. The victims have been removed from the building. Their families have been notified. 19 students, 2 teachers so far. There was an AR-style rifle, that the alleged gunman had no criminal history, lived with his grandparents, and as you laid out well, Carrie, was wearing a tactical carrier, which can be, you can carry magazines, you can put some anti-ballistics in there to prevent yourself from being killed when confronted by police officers, as apparently he did. Carrie, thank you so much. We'll be back to you shortly.